We've done one marital session with you. We might have to do another one soon.
I believe in our support system.
Welcome to the Brain Lady Podcast with your host, Karen D.Wood, the resident brainiac. Get ready for a mind-expanding journey as we unravel the mysteries of the brain from Notes from the Couch. Join us as we delve into the complexities and wonders of this enigmatic supercomputer. Fasten your mental seatbelts and prepare to have your synapses fired up. Welcome to the captivating world of the Brain Lady Podcast.
And welcome back. My name is Karen D.Wood, and I'm excited that you're back at another podcast episode in the podcast layer with the eminent co-host,
Karen D.Wood. How are you doing today?
Very well, Mr. Jermaine Jackson.
We are back in the podcast layer with the Brain Lady, with the hippocampus talking, brain slaying, all of the above.
Brain slaying.
Hey, this is going to be a good day. We got another note from the couch. Karen D. Wood, let us know, what note do we have today?
So we've had a couple notes lately in the last few episodes. You may have caught the one we did comparing the tension scales.
Right, that was a great one. That was really good.
And we've had some other ones where we've talked about what that happens when we get hijacked.
Yes,
Those
which
are
is huge.
couple that we
so
did.
Huge.
This time I'm going to do two that are a little more practical. So this one and the next one, a little more practical, because people have been asking me, hey, you talk about the boxes. What do we do with the boxes?
Right.
So we're just going to slow down a little bit and get practical. So today's note from the couch is from a really overwhelmed college student who said, I have a U-Haul of boxes.
Not a U-Haul.
A U-Haul of boxes, and I don't open the back because I won't be able to get them all back in.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff going on in there.
That's a lot of stuff. Pretty good picture of overwhelm. When we're overwhelmed, we don't even touch it.
Yeah.
So now he's shutting down, experiencing depression because he can't figure out. So on the screen, if you're YouTubing with us, here's a fast drawing of what his mind is doing to him. If he opens all those boxes, they are all going to come out.
Yeah, don't open the back of the truck.
No, because you can't get them back in. There's just way too many boxes.
It's a lot going on.
So we're going to talk today about what to do if you're feeling in a situation where you're that overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Now, how do you know when you're in a coaching situation? What's your first clue somebody's got a lot of boxes?
When they start rambling, they just will not even allow me to even get anything in.
Absolutely.
Right? They just keep going on. This to this. And then at the end of it, nothing even really relates or is linked together because they've jumped to 10 different topics.
So much jumping.
With 10 different things. And then they sit back for me to then jump in and give some advice or give some thought or give some direction. And I'm sitting there just holding boxes because I don't even know.
Seeing it could be another note from the couch.
Right? But yeah, it's that. The overwhelming, someone's overwhelmed when there's just a lot that they have to say quickly and they're bouncing from topic to topic. It shows that there is a lot that they need help to work through at times. And many times they just don't know how. They just know that they want to get out what they have, what has overwhelmed them. They just want to get it out. And once they get it out, they kind of take a breath.
They take a breath, and then they don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes they'll actually take the breath and then fall apart sobbing.
Yes.
Because they have actually finally expressed what they've been holding in all the time.
Yeah.
So when we talk today about being overwhelmed, if you feel yourself overwhelmed, and we're talking about being overwhelmed, just remember that parasympathetic tool we talk about is you moving your shoulders, sit down, take an exhale. The infamous swallow. We did a whole session on the swallow, the power of telling our whole body we're okay. And so what we're trying to say now is, what do we do then?
Yeah.
So when this kid was talking to me about his overwhelm of school and depression, I'm writing down in the boxes while he's talking. And then I just turn it around and say, man, you are carrying all this.
Yeah.
And this is only 4 or 5 boxes. So when you say, what do we do in a session?
Right.
We're writing in boxes.
Yeah. And it works so well.
And Then one of the things we ask someone to do when they have a lot of boxes is, and on the screen, if you're YouTubing, you can see, hey, what number are you at?
Yep.
And we talked about that tension number before. And it's amazing what happens if you, and your audio listening, thinking about writing boxes on a page, putting a number next to the box. What happens all of a sudden when you see what the individual numbers are, then you can already your focus starts to happen. Now, we do have situations where people are going through huge traumas and they say they're all 10s, big deaths in the family, nasty accidents, cancer.
Yeah.
Those kind of things can all be 10. But this kid's in school. He's overwhelmed about everything in school. So now he's realizing, wait, the first thing that I talked about was his school schedule.
Mm-hmm. Overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
Makes sense.
But it's a 6. It's not the thing that's getting him the most. Right? So then we keep talking. Okay, you've got your school schedule. Where's he going to work is actually the biggest tension.
Got it. Okay.
So, and interesting enough, that was bigger than where's he going to live.
Now, he told you all of these different steps,
Yes.
but how did you guys find the actual number for each box?
Well, once I said, hey, here's your boxes, dude, we've got it broken down a little bit.
Right.
And then I cover up the other ones, paper over it, and say, what number is just this box? If you can do just
You
this
help him
box.
separate all of it into just that.
And then I
one.
go back to his U-Haul analogy. You're standing in the back of the truck and you have just picked up one box.
Got it.
We're just talking, what number is that box, right? So right away, we're talking about separating the topics into boxes.
Yeah.
And then giving them a number. Remember, we're all about using our body and our thinking to tell our alert brain, that amygdala that's going out of control, hey, we've got this.
Yeah.
And that actually the where am I going to work is my biggest box. So that tells me what to focus on more is where the work thing is.
And I think what's interesting is in his mind, he feels that he has to drive the U-Haul truck.
Yeah.
And
yes.
in our reality, like he just needs to carry one box. Let's just pick up this one box. Let's get out of the driver's seat of the U-Haul truck. Let's open up the truck and let's just pull one box. And let's just talk about this one box, because you don't have to go through life carrying every box every day, everywhere you go.
But isn't trauma like driving a U-Haul bus around all the time?
Absolutely.
Because there's so many boxes. So we're saying is break them down.
Yeah.
And when we get back on the screen, the boxes, then we can say, okay, now we're just going to deal with one.
With one of the boxes, right.
And so, yes, just take
many
one
times
box
that's
out of the U-Haul.
The hardest. It is hard to carry one box.
It is very hard.
When there's a million things you're juggling in life and so many different things are going on. But I think when you break it down and say, let's just put it in a box, it does make it easier for our brains, makes it easier for us. I've found is make things a lot easier, because life be lifing and there'll be a lot of stuff going on.
Life be lifing.
Yeah, it does.
And so when we talk about the first box being the school schedule,
right,
and then work, and then where am I going to live, then the future, and surprisingly, the future wasn't the biggest worry for him.
Okay.
It was the job now, great. And then as he saw the boxes, then he said, oh, I have one more. There's a lot of fighting in the family right now. So now he's starting to separate the boxes, which is great.
Right, yeah.
Now, in the next episode, we'll talk about what to do when all these start swimming and fish hooking on each other, and they're all, this is connected. We'll talk about that. This is the simplified version,
right,
of what do we do now. Okay, so now we're just talking about the overwhelming thing of the school schedule. So think about it as you're viewing and listening. What would be one box you could grab out of the U-Haul?
Right.
Let me think what I would grab out of the U-Haul today. Some stuff for our nonprofit I got to get to.
Yeah.
That would be the box I would grab. Let's ask our editor over there. What would you grab, Phil, if you had one box?
Phil. Mom.
Okay, well, hello, everybody. It is so crazy. You hitting, what did he say, the
nail on the head.
Hey,
right?
Come on.
I got recently a storage, and I've been moving boxes. Moving it. You walked in the studio, right in the front room.
Yeah, there's a
lot of stuff. Christmas, yeah. So I have what you call a closet room. I have a garage. Just the closet room, by the way, is just boxes piled up. It's nothing but my closet and bins of. I won't say action figures, but yeah, action.
Got them.
Yeah. So and sound equipment. So I've been overwhelmed at points, but I've been doing that. Pause, breathe, just one box, one load at a time, and I'm slowly seeing it go down. And
nice work.
Yeah, and
good stuff.
It may not look like it, but it's getting there.
It don't look like it, but it's getting there.
Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah, and you're traveling tomorrow. So what's a getting ready travel box thing that you need to grab?
Well, this is technically, I would say, this is the first time that my wife and I are actually going like somewhere where we are taking an airplane.
Oh,
with leaving 4 kids at home. So there's a lot of logistics. And
there's a lot of logistics.
There's one drop off Saturday morning at this relative's house, and then a day goes by, and then this relative comes and picks them up from this relative's house. And because we couldn't ask one person to keep all 4 the whole time we're gone, like we probably wouldn't be family anymore.
Lose family members.
We will lose family members.
You can hear how your one box is
Absolutely, 100%. So we broke it up, right? We had family that said, hey, I'll step up, I'll step off. I'll take one day. My mom was like, I'll take one day and one day only. Like, that is it. And that's her. And at the end, it's so funny because my mom always tell her, Mama, you getting old because you used to run circles around everybody. And my boys go to her house for one day and she's down for 4 or 5 days. She's down. She is like, don't call me. Don't talk to me. I need to rest. But yeah, my boys have such a good time when they go to grandma. Everybody, come on. Everybody loves to go to grandma's house. They just eat sweets and order Uber Eats and stay up late.
And this is the first time you've traveled away from them, and so your mind's going to be on that the whole time, so you can hear how it would multiply.
My mind will not. My wife's mind.
There's another top podcast.
Will be on the kids the whole time. I'm not thinking about them jokers at all. I'm getting on that airplane, and they're going to be just fine with Nina and Opie. They're going to be just fine with Nina and Annie and Papa. They're going to be good. So I believe in those people.
We've done one marital session with you. We might have to do that there once.
I believe in our support system.
So good. That's just an idea of inviting you, viewer or listener, to grab a box. And then this is what we do with it. And we've been repeating these in all the episodes, but it's important to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
For this outcome-based thinking that we call clear thinking, which is why our nonprofit is called the Clear Thinking Solutions. Is to notice the tension, step number 1. So when I think about doing some stuff for this nonprofit, I can feel I get antsy inside. It's just like this little drive starts because I've got so many things to do. And so that's me noticing the tension. So in your box, look at yourself and the outcome of the picture without acceptance. There's our acceptance word.
Yep.
Doesn't mean it's good, kind, lovely, or true.
Not at all.
And then the key here is to look at the picture. You don't have to solve the problem. All you have to do is look at you this evening. If you don't grab acceptance when the kids are running around nuts because they're going to be so excited.
Yeah, they already are. They get to go to everybody's house and hang out.
And so what does it look like without acceptance? And then step number 3, which is where I think the mental magic happens, is what do you look like with acceptance?
The mental magic.
That was pretty good, huh? I've never said that before. ADHD is so handy.
Man, the mental magic. Come on, somebody.
And so what we're after is saying, So let's go back. Now we're saying to the kid, okay, look at yourself. When you think about your school schedule, where do you notice the tension?
Right.
What's going to happen? Well, today in the office, he was bombing and not doing anything about the school schedule because he was so overwhelmed by it. So without acceptance, he was shutting down completely.
Yeah.
And then his parents were coming in his room, frustrated with him for not taking care of school. And it was not a good scene today. And then look at yourself and the outcome of the picture with acceptance. So we started looking at the things about school. He just did so well in the last school semester.
Right.
He did a job for the first time in a while. So with acceptance, how long will it take to call the counselor?
Right.
What do you need to check on? So we found out that the trick about the school schedule was really stuck on the parents.
So he was overwhelmed that his parents were kind of nagging him about the schedule.
Yeah, and not realizing what a great job he had done last semester. Okay, so then the acceptance is, what do you look like knowing you did a great job last semester? You got sick over Thanksgiving, boxes. You're out of energy.
Yeah.
So what would you look like tomorrow? Calling, emailing.
Yeah.
What do you need to do to get an appointment set up? What do you need to do?
But what do you do? Like, what do you do in moments where, like, in the back of your mind, you know you have done great in different areas. You know you have been good in certain areas, but in the moment, it just does not feel like it.
It does not feel like it at all. Then you have to realize you probably have jumped to another box, which we'll talk about in the next episode.
Right.
You've jumped to another box.
And that's the big part about acceptance, is just staying in the present, right? And that's
because that's often a PTSD reaction, right?
Right, yeah.
I went to a meeting today, small squirrel. I went to a meeting today, and the invitation said 8:30 to 10:30. So I move things around, and I get there at 10:10, and they look at me like, meeting's over. You know, that kind of thing where you feel like yourself going, I would. And they're like, I said, well, thanks. And by the way, here's a fun thing I'm doing. Here's my card and my podcast. And then the guy lit up, and we had a great conversation.
Nice.
And he'll probably be here on our podcast.
That's cool.
Couple of weeks, yeah. So, but I got in the car, and PTSD said, you always do that. You miss things. There's so many things in your life that aren't going right. And I mean, it was a full PTSD wash.
Yeah, I get it.
And I had to sit there and say, thank you, failure brain, but this was not my failure. This was someone else's failure. They got the invitation thing wrong.
Yeah.
And then I was able to switch to, well, maybe it was meant to be that conversation with that guy was the best thing that could happen with this day. Yeah. But then my mind would go back to, well, this always happens to you.
And it's kind of a loop. It just keeps happening.
And we'll talk about that more next episode, how to track that on paper so you can figure out what that's about. But it's a really, really good question because this kid's having a hard time. But anyway, we landed, and he was breathing and sitting up better on the couch. He was looking better, just saying, hey, I'll just try again with that schedule. I put the squirrel away for a minute. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Thanks.
I watched that last episode where we had squirrels flying. So
those squirrels, by the way.
That's hilarious.
And step number 4 is notice the change in tension. This is a brilliant step. I didn't come up with it. Some dudes did in the 90s, but I wish I had, because if I could notice that I've changed my I'm breathing, not complaining, this doesn't seem so overwhelming, that box has gotten smaller, because this is really the trick of how to get all the boxes back in the U-Haul, is make them all smaller so they don't matter that much, right?
Right. No, it's so good.
It's like, Phil, when you're working on all the reorganizing, and if I can get all these cables into this one box and I can throw those 6 boxes away.
Wow.
That's what we're mentally doing here.
I do have a question on that regarding that.
You go.
Okay, so I'm moving boxes. I'm trying one by one and not to get overwhelmed. But I find myself at times getting stuck on a box. I'm staring at it. I'm shocked by it, or overwhelmed by it. That one box, besides the big picture, that one thing, and I feel like, is that it's triggered me? Is it trauma? Is it something
It's a form of overwhelm, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 Thanksgivings, and we had this beautiful table where we staged everything. And now we've had the 3 Thanksgivings, and I look at all the cranberries and all the extra stuffing and all the stuff, and I go, mirror, because that needs to be the Christmas table now.
Mm-hmm.
But I stand there and go, mirror. Mm-hmm. And I know the overwhelm is because the pantry is too full. So, yes, it's a cranberry sauce, but there's no room for it in the pantry. So the issue really is organizing the whole pantry. Oh, that's a big job. See, it's not about this one can of something. It's about this bigger job.
With Phil in his box, is it more so there's not clarity of where that box goes next?
Well, the trick with any organizing is, and you have to remember this, take your breath, we usually have to make that space for that box to go into. And that's a whole nother half a day and a whole nother set of, does that sound right, Phil?
Yeah, but watch this. Watch this layer.
Watching.
But what about with the things that are in the box? That I think probably stop me sometimes.
But how many decisions is that?
That's
it's a whole box of wires. How many decisions is that? That's 39 decisions from all the wired boxes.
So I keep all 4 jackets, or do I get...
No, it's a really good example. I mean, how many screens do you have, Phil? Do you have to keep all the screens?
True, because this jacket, I had a memory of me going to this pizza place over here. I already got married.
Squirrel. We're in the closet, squirrels. But the point is, what if I stand up straight, do this, say, hey, amygdala, why are you sending off these flight alarms that I'm not able to focus on this. And then your mind will usually tell too many cables, this other project. If we ask ourselves, often the mind will tell us
what
the deal is.
So good.
Because we're giving it permission.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what you said. Hey, get out of the driver's seat, go in the back, give yourself permission just to take one box, right?
And I think many times, like you had mentioned, like if we ask ourselves the questions, our brain usually will find the answer. But many times we don't know what question to ask. We don't know even where to start. We don't even know what to do with that question, or we're scared of the answer.
And that comes back to that episode, I hope you watch it, on the Richter scale and the tensions.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, number 3 was in the Richter scale of earthquakeness. Things are moving on the wall.
Right.
So there you're working with your box. Are you just feeling a little unsettled? And remember, number 6 was church bells are ringing. I just love that. So that's a bigger response. Is there some other alert in your system going on? Well, can you find it? Is it time alert? Is it right? Mm-hmm. So talk to it. And then by time it's 8, if you're that triggered and hijacked, there's no organizing could have happened. That's when we start throwing stuff around. Small confession of the organizer, right? Because you should see our garage stuff.
I just throw things away, and then my wife gets upset because she goes to try to find something.
Throw away the wedding dress.
And I didn't throw something away. Not the wedding dress. I'm not crazy. But I definitely will purge.
And is that from tension or wisdom?
That's from my mama growing up, yelling at me to throw stuff away and keep my room nice and tidy.
It's a tension response.
I'm telling you.
And we can notice the tension, right? Mm-hmm. So these 4 steps, you can use them with a box of me, of you trying to organize all the cables, or me standing, how do I get this table organized? And the other thing I like about the mind, when we say that, often the mind will figure it out at night when it comes to organizing, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Because we're giving it permission to. Whole nother topic, how to give our mind permission to things in sleep. I'll get to that in another podcast.
That sounds interesting.
And so what we're after is we got down to notice the change. It's kind of our test for is the amygdala believing us? I'm breathing again. I have some solution. I can. And then, okay, good. You landed that box. Well done. You got 10 more. So then we just go to the next one. So tell me why this work box is so high. Now, the reason we have notice attention on every one, which might seem a little strange, is different alerts will send different tensions to different parts of the body.
Yep.
So the school schedule was just shutting him down, just completely limped. And now it's time to talk about where's he going to work. And now he's getting a little fired up. And he's at a different kind of alert. Good to know. And then the same thing. Hey, what happens if you stay in this lockdown about finding a job? And sometimes we can just do it in pictures and don't have to say, talk to me verbally, right?
Yeah.
So that pretend picture concept we talked about before. Hey, what would you look like if you found the job?
Yeah.
Just jump over a bunch of stuff and look at that.
Look, and this is why I really love the steps in clear thinking, because clear thinking, like, it allows you to be creative in a space that usually causes frustration.
Oh, nicely
said.
It
It allows you to be creative to say, what could the outcome of this look like? Doesn't mean it has to look like this. Doesn't mean it has to happen before you can create the picture. You can simply say, like, what could this look like?
Yes.
Right? What could this look like? And it can be a completely made up picture. And it allows, and it's what I have found in the times of my frustration and my anger and my anxiety, just using these 4 steps has allowed me to bring some creativity into the mess. And many times it's so difficult to find answers, so difficult to be creative when you're overwhelmed, when you are full of tension.
Yes.
But with these steps, it forces you to bring creativity into the mess at times. And it allows, at least for me, it allows me to work through it a little bit easier.
And step number 3 doesn't necessarily mean we have solved the problem.
No, not at all.
He has got the job.
No.
It means, hey, let's be creative and figure that out.
Yeah,
so he's got,
sure.
Well, then I'm going to take a nap, and then I'm going to figure out who I need to call.
So good. I love me a good nap. I will tear up a nap.
And then his tension was coming down. Well, he's got his 6 down to a 4 and his 8 down to a 6, which is good. It's still high alert, and that's good. So we got those settled. And then we went on to talk about where's he going to live, because living at home when you're in college, kid, is kind of a drag. So we talked about that. And then we talked about, hey, what about your future? If you can get this school thing figured out and this work thing. And then the parent promise, all of a sudden, the family promise, he didn't even need to talk about it because he had brought these other tensions down. Right?
So good.
And so what we're practicing today is just the really practical way to do boxes yourself.
Yeah.
At home. The other way you can do it are called air boxes. If you're at work and you're in a meeting and it's overwhelming, just think of what is overwhelming right now in the air in boxes.
And nobody has to know. Nobody has to even know.
But you're separating it in your mind.
In your mind, yeah.
So your amygdala knows you don't have to say that to your coworkers. And so whether you do it on paper or air, it's just a good practice way to break things down. Marvelous things to do with kids when they're overwhelmed. They come home from school and go, meh. And you just say, let's write those boxes down, right? And what'd you help Mason figure out this week about pictures?
Yeah, Mason was being Mason. He's the middle child, and he had 2 rough days. Mason doesn't have 2 rough days in a row, right? He has a rough day. We come home, we talk. He goes back the next day. He's a much better kid, but this was back to back. Like, that boy showed up day 1, got clipped down, got sad faces, came back day 2, clipped down even further, even more sad faces. So we had a real talk that night. We had a real talk that night. But again, I went back to what I knew he knows and understands. Language shapes behavior, behavior shapes culture. We started to talk about, Mason, what is your brain telling you while you're sitting in class? And he walks through all these different things. Okay, does your brain tell you if you make these choices, it's a big possibility you're going to get in trouble and you're going to get clipped down? He pauses. He makes these pictures. He walks me through it. And I says, okay, tomorrow at school, when you start to feel yourself getting anxious, for him, he wanted to always get out of his seat. So, Mason, what do you start to feel before you want to get out of your seat?
Oh, nice.
Dad, my butt burns.
Oh, I can hear that part of the story.
My butt burns. Your butt is burning. So when you feel your butt burning, I need you to pause and take a deep breath and ask yourself, what does it look like if Mason gets out of his seat? What does it look like if Mason stays in his seat? So he goes to school, he comes home the next day, he runs through the front door with his paper because he got 2 smiley faces and he says, Dad, when my butt burned, I made a picture in my brain and I stayed in my seat. I said, give me some, Mason.
Yeah, and you sent me the video. It was so cute. He was so proud of him.
So proud. But again, he's 5. He can make pictures.
Yeah.
I don't care how old you are, how young you
help. You broke it down.
You can make pictures. Like, kids have such a creative mind. And if they can take that mind and actually see themselves in their actions, in their behaviors, in the consequences and all the different things that goes on in life, it helps them make better choices.
Better choices.
And that's literally what we did.
Man, if he could learn that at that age, isn't that exciting?
He's on his way. I'll tell you what, my boy is on his way. So
cute.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Brain Lady podcast. I want to encourage you to follow us on all of your favorite social media networks and platforms. Please go like and follow us on YouTube. Our YouTube platform is growing. We had 6,000.
6,000.
We had 6,000. So super excited for that. Things are really moving. So I thank you so much that we're able to help people that listen to this podcast. And if you ever have questions, comments, concerns, please email us, shoot a comment, and we will always get back to you. So again, thank you so much for joining us here in the podcast layer. Wood, I'll see you next time.
See you next time. Sit up straight and get your exhale.